run a number line, and then I need you to draw that number line with the labels into your math notebook. You do not need to write the questions at the bottom. We're going to talk about those questions. We need a title, and we need the number line copied in our math notebook. You can get it, but then we need to be... All right, so looking at our number line, we have 0, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 1 whole, 1 whole and 1/4, 1 whole and 2/4, 1 whole and 3/4, 2. Give you a little bit extra time to get that number line correctly drawn. Mason, you are drawing the number line. Not really sure what you are doing. All right, looking at our number line, where is 2/4 going to go? Yes? Yes. Where is 2/4 on this number line? I should see lots and lots of hands. I'm confused. Do we not know where 2/4 is? Logan, where's 2/4?
It is, but it is going to be in the middle of 0 and 1.
It is going to be in the middle of 0 and 1. I can tell that I'm counting by fourths, so I need to make 2 jumps. 1/4 and 2/4. I'm going to put a dot right on 2/4. So from 0 to 2/4, there is my distance. When?
Oh, we do that, right?
Yeah. Back to learning. Where is 4/4 on this number line? Go ahead and see if you can mark it. That one's a little trickier because I don't have it written on my number line. We can find it. How am I going to find it? Math notebook. You get a piece of paper. Bladen? It is 1 whole. How did you figure that out, Bladen? Yeah, so Bladen knew, just like if I kept counting 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, that next one must be 4/4. It doesn't say 4/4, so Bladen. Why?
Because it would make more sense if it was 1 whole, because if there was one more, there would be 1 whole, but there would still be 1 whole.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before, right? This idea that things are equal. So just because this doesn't say 4/4, does that mean that it's not 4/4? No, it's just written in a slightly different way. Looks a little different. Just like $1 looks a little different than 4/4, even though it's the same value. Does that make sense? All right, what about, who can read question number 3? That's a really weird fraction in there. How could we read question number 3? Brayden, you want to give it a go?
2 holes.
Can you read the whole question?
Where would 2 holes be on this number line?
Yeah, that fraction, 2/1, is pronounced 2 wholes. I want you to write this fraction underneath your number line. And then out to the side, we're going to write how you say that, which is 2 wholes.
I have a lot of room.
That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, that 2/1, we would say that as 2 wholes. Now that we hear it, where do you think that's going to go on our number line? That probably makes it a little easier now that I've heard how to say that fraction. Lincoln, where do you think that one's going to go?
What one?
The one we're just talking about.
That will go like right in between. I was thinking it would be right between the 1 hole.
You think it would be right on 1 hole?
No.
Oh,
Or the end.
how do I say this one?
2 holes
2 holes. Where is 2 holes on this number line?
at the end of the middle.
Yeah, right where 2 is, because that 2 really does mean 2 wholes. That's what I'm counting. Let's go ahead and write 2 wholes right above number 2. Just like last time, it's just a slightly different way to think about that fraction.
Can I read the next one? Can I read the next one?
Yeah, Gwen, how do I read that next one?
Where would 2 halves be on the number line?
Yeah, that is 2 halves. Go ahead and write 2 halves, and then we're going to write how to say that. That is pronounced 2 halves. That was a little trickier, but I like to think of 1 half, and then I remember what 1 half looks like, and then that'll help me with 2 halves. Where would 2 halves go on this number line? That's a little tricky because this number line is not split in halves. I'm not counting halves on this number line, Mason. What am I counting on this number line? Am I counting by halves? Oh, what am I counting by? I'm counting by quarters or by fourths. So how am I going to know where 2 halves go? Where is 2 halves going to go? Let's draw a picture. Here's my whole. I'm going to split it in half because we're counting by halves. And I have 2 of them. Yep. Now that I have a picture, you think you can figure out where 2 halves is going to go?
Yep.
Mason, where do you think that one might go? What did we color in? We did color in 2 halves. Did we color in the part of the thing or the whole thing or what? We colored in the whole thing. So that means we have 1 whole. Where's that going to go on our number line? In the middle of 1 and 2. Go over here. How would I say this? How would I say this piece right here? 2 halves. But I've also, if I had a cookie and I cut it in half and I ate both halves, how much of that cookie did I eat? The whole thing. Is 1 whole over here? No. Where is 1 whole, Mason? Where does it say 1 whole on that number line? The 1, yeah. That 1 means 1 whole. So on that 1, I'm also going to put 2 halves. I now have 2 fractions at the same spot. What does that mean? Sean, what do you think that means? What do we think that might mean that I have 2 fractions at the same spot? William?
2 fractions in small.
Because right now my 4/4 and my 2 halves are in the exact same spot.
Well, so if they're in the same spot and like you don't want them to be in the same spot.
No, they are. That's where they go. They're at the exact same spot. What do you think that means?
Oh, they're equal to the same amount.
They are equal to the same
So,
amount.
like they have different numbers, but they equal the same.
They have the
That's kind of like
same.
the dollar and the quarter.
Exactly.
The same value.
They have the same value. So I want you to circle 4/4 and 2 halves on your number line.
So these 2 circles on the and the one hole.
And we're gonna write that S looks crazy. Same value. Same value. They look different. And they're gonna look different when I'm cutting up a cookie or cutting up something else. But they're ultimately worth the same. This is your subtitle. This is what you are writing in your notebook. How are 2 halves and 2 wholes different? Let's draw a picture. Let's make a little T-chart. On one side, we're going to write 2 halves, and I'm actually going to write it so I remember how to say that fraction, because it's one that's kind of tricky. And then on the other side, I'm going to write 2 wholes. And again, I'm going to write how to say it, because sometimes it's a little tricky for me to remember. That's not a fraction I'm used to saying. Sure. Let's start with my 2 halves. If I'm partitioning something, that means I'm breaking it up, in this case by half. I'm only going to have 1 hole. So we can do a circle hole, even though those are not my most favorite. We could do a rectangular hole. We could do a triangle if you wanted to. As long as what we are cutting or partitioning have equal size pieces. Yep. Lincoln, that denominator 2, what does it tell me?
I think how much is shaded in.
Not shaded in, you're close. How much parts there are. Awesome. So I'm going to partition my circle. Now I've got 2 parts. I'm going to partition my rectangle, 2 equal sized parts. And I'm going to partition my triangle.
What the heck?
That is not equal parts. I cannot partition my triangle in that way. I have to make sure I have equal parts. Now my numerator right here, Lincoln, what does my numerator tell me?
How much is shaded?
How much to shade in? So I need to shade in 2 parts. We have another name for, we learned a couple of names, AKA names, nicknames, that I could call that shape. What could I call what I have just made? What would I call it? What would I call it, Nathan? I could call it 2 halves, but that's its name already. Is there another name I could call it? Is it 2 holes? No, it's not 2 holes. Gwen?
1 hole.
It's just equal to 1. 1 hole. The whole thing is colored in. This one's also equal to 1 hole. The whole thing is colored in. This is equal to 1 hole. The whole thing is colored in. Logan?
Also that so we are like equal parts because everything like matches like so then that means that we have 2 hands, we have
All right, so we are going to move on to 2 holes. What is 2 holes going to look like as a picture? What is 2 holes going to look like as a picture, Sean?
it'll look like 2 circles, 2 rectangles, or whatever it's just that can be split into equal shapes, and then you color both of those in.
So I'm going to ask this question, Sean. My denominator, Lincoln told me, tells me how many pieces I'm cutting. But it just says 1. Do I have 1 piece?
No, you have 2.
When I look at my hole, like this, is it cut into 1 piece?
No.
Yes.
It's 1 whole big piece.
Yeah.
When I cut it, I get smaller pieces, and then I have 2 pieces, or 8 pieces, or 10 pieces. And right now, it is 1 big old piece. So this is 1 piece. This is also 1 piece. So I've got 2 1 whole pieces. I don't have to cut anything because that 1 tells me I just need 1 piece. And when I draw the hole, it's already in 1 piece. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Ashlyn, what am I going to shade in? How do you know that? How do you? Yeah, that numerator tells us what to shade in. I have to shade in 2 1 pieces. Well, here's 1 piece that I'm going to shade in. Here's another piece that I'm going to shade in. There's my 2 holes. If I did it with triangles, it might look like this. If I did it with rectangles, I would just color in the whole thing. I could do it with any shape, Gwen, because I don't have to worry about cutting it up. It's already 1 piece. So the AKA, the other name for this is 2 holes. The last page we're going to do, this is your new title. What did we notice about 2 halves and 4 fourths? Go ahead and write that as our new title. What did we notice about 2 halves and 4 fourths? On our number line, if we go back to that, we notice that 2 halves and 4 fourths were at the exact same spot. Remember that?
Yes.
2 halves and 4 fourths. We're at the exact same spot. We're writing that down, please. We saw that on the number line. Let's draw a different model and see if we can find out why. Because both of these are partitioned, right now I'm just going to draw 2 holes. This is going to be my, 1 hole. Here's my 2 halves over here, and then my 4 fourths will be over here. When I draw 2 halves, I'm gonna start with a square this time. You can do whatever shape you want as long as we have equal parts. Jackson, what does that denominator 2 tell me? How many pieces I need? So I need 2 pieces. I'm gonna do a fancy one. Is that 2 equal sized pieces?
Yes.
Yep, that'll work. Tenley, what does my numerator tell me? How many pieces I'm going to be using or shading in? That would be 2. All right. Yes. All right. So for fourths, I'm going to draw the exact same piece. Layden, you're right. I'm not going to split it up the same way because my denominator says 4, not 2. I'm going to do the same half.
But it's like a, so you're just drawing an X.
And then a half of a half. I'm going to split those halves in half.
I don't like if you're drawing like X, right?
Yeah, that looks like an X. Harper, what's that numerator going to tell me? Yeah, I'm using all of those pieces. Now that we see a picture, what do we notice about both of those models? What do we notice about the 2 halves and the 4 fourths? Michael, what are you noticing?
That the denominator is the same as the numerator, which means that every single piece is colored is shaded in.
Nice. So Michael noticed that the numerator and denominator in 2 halves are the same. The numerator and the denominator in 4 fourths are the same. So the whole thing is shaded in. Harper, what did you notice?
I noticed that even though they're both like different fractions, they still have the same value.
They do still have the same value. The whole thing is colored in. I had to color more pieces, but ultimately, the whole thing is colored in. We have a special name for these fractions. You've probably heard it before, but you might not have known. I'm going to put my equal sign. These fractions are called equivalent.
I've heard of it.
Jeez.
Oh, equivalent fractions.
Equivalent. We can almost see the word equal. It's not quite equal, but it does kind of look like equal a little bit. Equivalent is talking about how things might look different, but have the same value. They're worth the same. These look different. They do. But they're worth the same, which is one whole.